Hello everyone, StormyStrike here, and in this video I'm going to be giving my thoughts and opinions on all the BreyerFest 2023 models that have been revealed as of the beginning of February 2023. This includes the ticket models, special runs, and limited edition models. There are other BreyerFest models left to be revealed by Breyer, but those models will likely not be revealed until later on as we get closer to BreyerFest, so I'm going to go ahead and do my thoughts and opinions video now instead of waiting. I am trying to be a lot pickier than I used to be about which models I buy. As I've already been mentioning in some videos now, I really need to downsize my collection and only keep the models that I really love, which also means me being more selective about the models I add to my collection. Anyway, let's get to it. Bravour 54, I'm probably not saying that right, but that is the celebration model for this year. This model is done on the Tricanner mold, which is a vintage mold originally released in 1979. Personally, I actually really like this mold, especially the version of it like this one that has the new fuller tail. The color on this guy is really nice, and obviously he is a portrait of a real horse. I do think this mold seems to fit the real horse very well. All that being said, I'm not particularly crazy about this celebration model. He is nice and I like him, but he's just not super exciting for me. It does seem at some point on the website, Breyer added a picture of him with this ribbon around his neck, and I'm going to assume this will come with all the models, which is a very nice little addition. I like that a lot. On to the event stablemate models, formerly known as the single-day stablemate models. First is Wheeler. This is the new pony mold, which was first released in the Stablemates Club last year. I think it is a very cute mold, and I like the glossy bay coloring on it, but it's not one I really want to get. Next is Teamster. I'm not crazy about the Irish Draft, aka Corbin, stablemate mold, but I really love this gold champagne color. I don't think I'm going to try and get this model, but he's one I also wouldn't necessarily mind having in my collection. Then there is Navigator, which is a glossy chestnut on the American Saddlebred stablemate mold, and this one is my least favorite of these four stablemates. I think it's fine, it's pretty, and the pattern's very nice, but it's just not one I want to add to my collection. Lastly for these stablemates is Whip. This is my favorite stablemate of the set, and probably a lot of people's favorites from what I've seen. The color on this guy is just so fun, and I do quite like this mold as well. I probably won't try and get him, but I do quite like this model, and again, really wouldn't mind having it in my collection. Now we go on to the special runs. First up is Spios. I love this guy. I am absolutely loving the Animar or Amazon Stallion. I really don't know how to pronounce that. Again, I'm sorry, I can't pronounce things well. The point is though that I really like this mold. I really love this shade of bright red chestnut. I think it is just so pretty. I like his blaze. His eyes look to be painted a nice brown. In fact, I think all of the special runs this year have tricolored painted eyes, which is always really nice. I really love this guy. He is a must-have for me and my second favorite special run of this year. Then we go on to Araba. I really love the color on this model. I do generally like flashy Sabinos or even just Sabinos in general, and this sure is a beautiful, flashy Sabino Pinto. The semi-metallic looking black is also lovely. However, I just can't get behind this mold, unfortunately. I really wish I could because there are some aspects of this mold that I quite like, but I just can't quite look past the front legs. The forearms just look a little too skinny and have that weird little kind of dip in them. I wish they didn't bug me, but unfortunately they do. Even though I do love this color, I am not planning on buying this particular model. Third up, we have Peanutine, or Peanutine. I'm not going to pronounce probably anything correct here, but I'll just give it my best shot. This is the non-horse special run for this year, which a lot of people, myself included, usually call the non-equine special run, But obviously, this guy is an equine, so I'm going to try and call it the non-horse special run from now on. I think this guy is absolutely adorable. I do like the Bridie mold. I think it is likely that I'm going to try and get this guy. I think his color and pattern are just super nice. For the vintage special run model, we actually have a pair, Surrey and Axel. I am very surprised that they did a mare and foal set this year. If you don't know, as of recent years, it's been typical of Breyer to have a mare and foal special run set, but they only do them every other year. We did have a mare and foal last year, so it was pretty unexpected that they were doing a mare and foal again this year. Personally, I don't mind at all. They could do a mare and foal special run every year if they want, and I'd be completely fine with that. I am a little torn on this set because I really like them, but I'm not completely sure if I'm going to try and get them or not. I think the foal is adorable. I'm not super crazy about him, but I do really like this foal mold, and the color on him is very nice. The mare, however, is such a neat, crazy, few-spot Appaloosa color. I really like that it's rather unusual from a lot of the other Appaloosas that Breyer typically does. I just think she is neat, and I like the fact that she is the swishy tail version. I'm not sure what's exactly making me not immediately want this set. Maybe it's just because I'm not super crazy about the paint job on her legs. Like, I absolutely love the top half of her, but there's something about the coloring of her legs that I'm just not crazy keen on. Next is the Decorator Special Run for this year, Nemea. I absolutely love this horse. Like several other people, when I saw Breyer release the sneak peek for this model, I was thinking, please, please, let it be like that cool Greek-looking live-auction Marwari they did a few years ago. And what do you know, that is what they did, and I am so happy about it. I think he is so cool, and he is my #1 favorite special run this year. I love the mold, I love the coloring, I love the overall patterns and design. I saw a few people before mention that his mane being red is a little strange, and it is kind of a little strange that his mane and tail aren't the same color, but I guess there are some amphoras where the horses have red just in their manes. However, even without that direct inspiration, it doesn't really bother me. Overall, he is just really cool. Also because of his inspiration and just kind of whole vibe. He kind of reminds me of Zagreus from the game Hades, which just adds to my enjoyment of him. I am really curious to see what the markings on his back/haunches is. You can see that there is some kind of marking there in the photos that Breyer gave, but you can't quite see what it is from this side angle. I'm sure whatever it is, I'm gonna like it, and I just can't wait to see this guy in person and hopefully add him to my collection. Then there is the name and logo for this year's surprise model, which is the Stagecoach Surprise. Obviously, since we don't know what this model, or rather models, I guess, will look like, I can't really give an opinion on it, but I do like the name of it, and I am already working on my speculation video about what I think the surprise model mold will be. Make sure to keep an eye out for that, because that'll hopefully be coming out sooner than later. On to the special run, Wells. Out of all the special run models, this is the one that I hope to see in person the most before buying, or at least see more photos of it. Like if they bring it to BreyerFest, I'd love to see people share other photos of it from BreyerFest. I do like this model from what I can tell so far, but I have a feeling that the color is going to look a little different in person compared to these photos. I am kind of on the fence about whether or not I would want to try and get him. I do quite like him so far, but I think seeing more pictures of him will really help me decide. Jump and Drive. This is another special run I'm kind of on the fence about whether or not to get. I surprisingly have a conga going of this mold, so I think it's safe to say that I do quite like this mold, even though I was originally not planning on collecting it at all. I like that this model is the loose mane and tail version, as I prefer that version over the braided one. I like the high white markings on him. The gloss looks really nice. I'm surprisingly not a huge fan of the color though. I don't dislike it, but I'm not loving it either, which I would normally think I'd be loving it. I usually really like sooty buckskin, but for some reason it's not quite doing it for me on this guy. This is another one where I think seeing more pictures of it or seeing it in person first would help with my decision on how much I want to get him or not. The last special run model is Scurry on the cute little fell pony mold. I think this model is adorable with a nice color and pattern, but I don't plan on getting this one. While I do really like her, I don't know, don't quite love her enough to buy her. Before I go on to talking about the limited editions, I have two different topics I want to discuss. First off is giving a bit of speculation on what the possible split variations on the special run models might be. And remember that not all of these might come into effect, or possibly none of them even. For example, last year it was thought that Rapunzel would get a variation with two different mains, but didn't, and none of the special runs ended up getting variations with different mains. This year, both Wells and Jump and Drive have the possibility of having different braided mane and tail options. Personally, I hope that neither of them have this, just because I like the loose mane variations on these molds better than the braided versions. It is also technically possible that the Lady Faye's model could have different tail variations. I really don't think that's likely, but I'm just going to mention it. For Glossy, Matte, and Split, honestly, pretty much all of the models here, except for probably the Donkey or Jump and Drive, will be the Glossy Matte Split. And even then, I don't know, maybe the Donkey could be matte and glossy. They haven't really done that before for the Animal Special Run, but this could be a first. Who knows? I could easily see any of the models pretty much getting it. Personally, I hope that Speos isn't the one to get it, just because I am gonna want both variations of that model if he comes in both glossy and matte. Lastly is the color split. It seems that the color split models have so far only happened on models that are Pintos or Appaloosas, which means that Araba, Scurry, or maybe even Surrey and Axel are the ones I believe are most likely to receive a color split if Breyer does that this year. I honestly wouldn't mind if that was done on any of these models. The other point I wanted to mention before I talk about the limited editions is just something I thought was interesting, and that's that some of the run numbers for the special runs this year, particularly the fact that the non-horse special run and the decorator special run both have numbers that are pretty close to the same amount as the other special runs. I know last year the decorator Franz was close to the run numbers of the other special runs, but the non-horse bears were still a decent amount lower. I just find this interesting because it used to be that the decorator special run and the non-horse special run always had a lot lower numbers compared to the rest of the special run lineup. Now things have changed, and perhaps it's due to these types of models being more popular than they used to be. Now on to the limited edition models. Vieladia, no idea if that's remotely close or not, but she's the first BreyerFest limited edition portrait horse. I like this new Breyer Standardbred mold quite a bit. I am a little iffy on this model just for the fact that she looks so solid white here. I think and hope that she has some more pink shading in person that just got washed out in these photos. If you do look closely, it does appear she might have some pink on her chest and behind her shoulder. And if it's true that she has a little bit more pinking here and there that you can see in person, then I am much more likely to grab her. The next portrait model is HD Harkness. This guy appears to be a really pretty bright bay on the Troubadour mold, which is a mold I do like. I think this model looks really nice overall. I'm not quite sold on him right now, but that may change when I see him in person. I do think his color looks really lovely already. The third portrait model is FVA's Grand Design, aka Tilly. It is interesting as I'm pretty sure this is the first time that the Othello mold has been turned into a mare. She is a very pretty, I believe, liver chestnut Sabino. I couldn't find anything that said what her color is, so I'm probably not correct on that, but that's just what she kind of looks like to me. Whatever her color is, though, she is really pretty. I do like the Othello mold, and again, I like her colors, so I might end up trying to get this one. It has been pointed out that she is kind of similar to the regular run SBH Phoenix, who is also a portrait model, and this is true that they are both Sabinos with brown coloration, but they are obviously very different shades of color, however. On to Delft, who is the Decorator Classic for this year. I really like the inspiration and thought that went into this model. I think it is very clever for it to be based after pottery that features driving horses. The shades of blue are nice and the driving image on it is nice. All that being said, I don't think I'm going to get this model. I like him, but he isn't striking me as a model that I have to have in my collection. The crystal for this year is Phaeton, and an easy pass for me as I don't collect the crystal models, but it is very pretty and it is based after a Breyer porcelain model originally released in 2004. This same mold actually has been released more recently as a unicorn mini Winnie as well. And it should be noted, this is not the same mold as Hamilton or Rejoice. There seems to be some confusion about that, but this model is not based after those molds. It's based after a completely different mold. On to the Best of BreyerFest set Series 4. This one is based after models from BreyerFest Denim and Diamonds 2013 to celebrate the 10-year anniversary of that BreyerFest. And man, does that make me feel old to think that 2013 was 10 years ago now. First up is Linktree, based on Honky Tonk. A lot of people really like this guy, but personally I'm not a huge fan. I think he is cute, but I just don't really have any desire to add him to my collection. Liverpool is based on Music Row. I like this one quite a bit more. I like the mold and color a lot. I like that her hooves appear to be really detailed too. She's one that I wouldn't mind having. Whippletree is based on Opry. This is probably my least favorite of the set. I'm just not crazy about Georg. I don't dislike him at all, but he's not a favorite mold for me. And I'm not really loving the vintage style Palomino coloring on him very much. Landau, based on Mini Pearl. I quite like this one actually, but at the same time, again, I'm not particularly crazy for it. I do think it is very nice though. Hames is based on Walk of Fame. This one is my favorite of this set. I have a bit of a soft spot for the Missouri Foxtrotter mold for some reason, and I do think it's funny how he is really just a complete mini version of the original model because he is the same mold, just shrunk down. I really like this color and pattern a lot, and he's another one I certainly wouldn't mind adding to my collection. You may be able to guess based on my reactions to these stablemate models, but I am not planning on getting this set. I think it's great overall. I like all of the mold choices that were used to represent each of the past BreyerFest models, but I am trying to limit how many stablemates I buy these days. Sulky is the BreyerFest plush for this year. I'm not too crazy about him, but he is cute and I will probably definitely be getting him for my BreyerFest plush collection I have going on. He's got a similar design to last year's Strudel in how he's sitting up and has big hind hooves. I wasn't fond of this look at first, but once I had a Strudel plush in hand, I kind of fell in love with him, so I'm actually quite liking that look now. There are 2 models left, and both of these models are models that can only be purchased online, but they can be purchased by any BreyerFest ticket holders. First is Studebaker, the traditional scale online-only model. I like her. I think she is very nice, and this is a mold I like, but I'm not really feeling this color on her for some reason, so she's another one that's going to probably be a pass for me. Buggy is the stablemate online-only limited edition. I am really surprised that Breyer revealed this guy to be an online-only one and not just a general limited edition single stablemate that represents the theme like they usually do. But anyway, this guy is a very flashy Bayron Blanket Appaloosa in gloss. I do quite like him, and I might get him. Not completely sure yet. I've just been really picky about getting stablemates lately, but I do think he is a very nicely done model. There are my thoughts on the BreyerFest 2023 ticket models, special runs, and limited editions. For fun, I decided to organize them into 4 categories based roughly on how much I want them. I have the love/must-have category, the like/might-get category, the like but likely won't get, and lastly the okay but don't want or don't plan to get category. I am surprised to realize that there are really only 2 must-have models for me right now for this year, but it is good because, again, I am trying not to buy a lot of models. Let me know in the comments which BreyerFest 2023 models are your favorite. Thank you for watching, and a reminder that my BreyerFest Surprise Source speculation video will be coming out soon. Be sure to subscribe if you're not already so you don't miss out on that. I hope you all have an awesome day, and I will see you in the next video. Bye everyone!